It's time for our series 50 States in 50 Weeks. And today we're traveling around the bayou state of Louisiana, and Cameron Matheson is showing us how New Orleans does spooky season like nowhere else.
Get ready for an adventure from the prairies to the bayous. There's no state quite like Louisiana. The boot-shaped region, part of the Louisiana Purchase under President Thomas Jefferson, which set the stage for it to become the 18th state to join the Union. Today, Louisiana is a melting pot of rich history, culture, and celebrated cuisine, including soul-soothing comforts and sweet treats like beignets, a favorite in The Princess and the Frog. Nicknamed the Pelican State after the official state bird, it's also known for its alligator-filled swamplands, the most in the country. The city of New Orleans, coined the birthplace of jazz music and the hometown of jazz pioneer Louis Armstrong. And who dat? It's the beat of the bayou. People in New Orleans know a little something about those other saints. The Big Easy, also the backdrop of Streetcar Named Desire.
Hey, Stella!
Just one of over 2,500 films shot in the state. But the crown jewel of Louisiana, Mardi Gras, bringing tradition, fanfare, and plenty of beads as carnival season reigns supreme.
Cameron Matheson, thank you for that. For more, let's bring in geography and anthropology professor at Louisiana State University, Joyce Marie Jackson. I love the New Orleans colors you got on there. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, you described Louisiana as a cultural mosaic of living folklore. Why is that?
Well, because this particular state is just so unique, and it has so many different cultures in it, even from the initial beginning. And we're talking about probably 1669 when the French colonized Louisiana. So you have the French, you have the Spanish, you have the British, and all of these were here together. Started with the French, though they had, you might say, the longest run of the colonial times. And so you find and then New Orleans was a port city. Natchez, a port city coming into Mississippi, but so we were surrounded by these port cities, and that's another thing that really made it specific for this culture to be so mosaic, as I like to say. But some people say Creole too, and that's also a very important aspect of this state.
Professor Jackson, Louisiana has such a rich and vibrant history, very different than a lot. How did indigenous and enslaved communities impact the tradition that the state still has today, especially during Halloween?
Oh, yeah. Well, in the beginning, when the French came in, they really had to depend on the indigenous people to help the colony survive, because when they were the French administrators, and they brought in people who really did not know how to cultivate the land and how to do all of this. So when they brought in, of course, the Africans around in the 1700s, then they were also enslaved, of course, as well as some of the indigenous people. And so, of course, you have two oppressed people, so naturally they're going to align themselves. And many times when enslaved people escaped, it was the indigenous people that helped them to get around. And so they knew the land, so it was very difficult to enslave the indigenous folks because, they get loose and you'll never find them because they knew how to navigate the bayou. And so you have those two that align at a very early age. And that's why you can see really within New Orleans and some other areas, you see a lot of Black Indians, and some of them are descendants from indigenous people and some not. But there's a very strong relationship and affinity towards those two groups.
Now, Professor Jackson, Louisiana, it has over 300 festivals during the course of a year. What challenges does the state face in making sure they actually stay true to their heritage and roots?
Yeah, well, that is a difficult thing to do because you have, of course, Americanization from the beginning. But of course, people coming in and they're trying to assimilate. But the challenges, I say one of the largest challenges are the languages, because there were so many languages spoken here, as well as the Creole languages with the Creole folks, as well as various other people. Creole languages is not just with, New Orleans, but with other people in other parts of the country. But language is one of the main challenges, and there have been very strong efforts to maintain those languages. The Creole, because you have Creole French, you have the Cajun language, and then you have French, and all of those are being, you might say, sort of relegated to very strong courses, workshops, and things like that to sort of maintain. So the language is one of the main things. Of course, there are some other things like material culture, like as far as the Indians, the Kashada baskets, the woven baskets of the Kashada Indians is almost nobody's hardly making them anymore. So we have certain things put in place like workshops, apprenticeships, so that we can try and get the younger people to learn these things. It's a challenge.
That's
It
always
really
the
is.
challenge, isn't it, LSU? Professor Joyce Marie Jackson, thank you so much for joining me.